Hi guys, so I decided to start my video off with a little disclaimer. I wanted to note, because I've been getting a lot of people asking me questions about hair color that I've been using and things like that. I wanted to let you guys know I am a professional licensed cosmetologist. I do have a license and I use all professional products. So this is only educational for salon hairstylists or people that are licensed. So if you're trying to do this at home, I definitely do not recommend you to try any of these techniques because a lot of hours of education go into this, and this is all meant for the professional world. So with that, I will start off this video on how to transform your hair into what we did with Ashley. To give you a little bit of background on Ashley's hair, I did this mermaid color on her hair and it was so gorgeous. If you guys want to see how she got this color, I will leave a link to the video down in the box below. So we have been slowly fading her hair out of this color and kind of getting it to where we could go in and do this color right here. So I had different ways of showing her how to kind of fade it out, and I can leave some of those tips down below. So at the very beginning, this is basically what we started with. I did use a clear and 10 volume to get some of the residual color out of her hair, but I didn't do that in this video because that is a whole nother process and a whole nother video that I will be uploading soon on different ways to pull out temporary dyes out of your hair. So this is the color that we started with today. The very first process is going to be smudging out and softening her base color, because this is her natural root that you guys see here. So what I'm going to do is start to go in and smudge out her root. The colors that I used on her base was 7-0 and 7-1 by Igora, Schwarzkopf, and I used 10 volume. So what I'm doing is I am taking this color and I am going around my section and just making sure that I trace everything around my section so that I know that everything in between is going to be nice and covered. Then what I'm going to do is actually start from the bottom to the top, because that's how I like to do my process on this, because it keeps me clean and neat and tidy. So I'm going to pull out a small size section and I'm going to place a foil at the top so that when I pull her hair over and clip it to the top of her head, none of that color is going to touch the blonde where I don't want it to. It's just a nice precaution. So what I'm going to do is grab that small strand of hair, I'm going to lift it up and paint this color on at the roots, and then do the same thing to the bottom. So I'm making sure that both sides are really nice and saturated right at the top. And then I'm going to go in and using my fingers, I'm going to just smudge this out. There's definitely a lot of different techniques on how you can make a really soft transition, but this is the way that I'm doing it in Ashley's hair today. So again, I am just going to grab another section from the bottom. I would say that I'm probably doing about maybe a little bit smaller than a ½ inch. Subsections. So you guys can see I grab my color, I'm going to place the color on the bottom and then kind of using a more horizontal, so I put it on vertically and then I go in with my brush horizontally so that it's a little bit softer, and then smudge it out with my fingers. So this is going to give you a really nice soft transition. And then every couple sections, I'm going to lay down a foil. This just keeps the sections from laying on top of each other and transferring that color onto the blonde that you don't want. So again, I'm just going to apply this vertically and then do to the top and the bottom. That way it's very evenly saturated so you know it's good. And then go in there with my brush horizontally to soften that line. And then just simply smudge it with my fingers, and we are just going to continue to do this all the way up the head. So this is a really great way to go in and soften someone's base that either is transitioning from a platinum color or wanting to do, even if they have darker roots and wanting to do more of a sombre look. This is a great way to go in and put in this beautiful smudged root. Just making sure that you're using these foils in between, because it really makes a difference so that your color doesn't lie on itself and get dark where you don't want it to and become splotchy. Less work in the end for you, and it keeps you more professional looking and a better end result. So in the back, I'm keeping it probably, I would say, about 4 to 5 inches down the root. And then in the front, I'm keeping it kind of going at a diagonal back section. So I'll show you in just a second. You guys can see how this is processing and it's looking so gorgeous. And then I'll show you guys the front too. So you guys can see it's a little bit higher up towards the front of her face and further down towards the back. That way you get a really soft transition from front to back. because most clients like to be a little bit blonder towards the face. So then we are going to rinse out that color, and now I'm going to go in with Shades EQ 8N. I'm using this as another piece to further soften that base. So on towel dried hair, you guys can see kind of where the base is ending right there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take my 8N, I'm going to apply that from the roots and then pull it down just past where that dark is a little bit to give you this gorgeous transition. I mean, can you guys see that? It is just so beautiful. And this just comes after that base and just adds in even more dimension to that root area and gives you a gorgeous outcome in the end. It's all about layering and taking your time. So after we rinse that off and shampoo her, we're going to go in with our highlight. So this is going to be our balayage. So I'm using Blonde Me, and in my first bowl, I have Blonde Me in 20 volume. That's going to be for her roots. And then I have 7 volume in Blonde Me in the next bowl. And this is going to be for the little bits that are a little bit lower where I don't want her color to lift too fast because it's already been processed before. So I also add in Continuum to help keep the hair healthy. This stuff is magic, made in heaven, and I'm obsessed with it. So I'm also going to go in with a Lowlight to bring down a few pieces of even darker, like a darker color. I'm using Redken Shades EQ 6N, and then I'm going to mix in One Draw. This is like one of the best secrets to making your color thicker so that you guys can really see where you're placing your color and it doesn't just disappear in the hair. Okay, so I started this color off a bit below her occipital bone in the back so that if her hair splits or if she wears her hair up, you're still going to be able to see some pieces. I didn't quite start showing you exactly what I'm doing yet because it is really blurry. It's out of focus, so I just waited until I got up a little bit higher, but I wanted to show you guys where I was starting from. So in all actuality, now that I'm back in focus, I'm taking sections that are anywhere from a little bit smaller than 1/2 inch to a little bit bigger than 1/2 inch. I'm bringing down that section and I'm kind of transitioning my highlights and my lowlights. So here you guys can see me weaving out quite a big chunks for a lowlight. Now the reason why I'm doing lowlights is to add just a little bit more depth further down her hair because I wanted some pieces that were a little bit further down. So you guys can see I'm going past where her smudged out base is, and I'm really pulling this down to have a few fingers of dark color that just goes into the hair to give it even more dimension, which is going to be really great next to these pops of bright color. And what I'm going to do is paint that down to kind of where I want to basically see the color end, and then I'm going to fold this up so that none of the color is going to be touching itself so that the color doesn't bleed onto the parts of the ends of the hair that we're leaving blonde. So again, I'll show you guys. Again, I'm pulling out some nice sized chunks. I think that it looks better when it's chunky and not small weaves because when you look at this color, it's not small little tiny pieces. It's these big gorgeous pieces that really make the difference. So I'm painting this on and then bringing it down to where I visually want to see where her dark goes. And then, because we're not going to paint it all the way through the ends, and then I'm going to fold that end over to protect that blonde color right there so it doesn't transfer. And then I'm just going to fold this up and then fold my sides. I like using foil when I do this because it keeps me very controlled on where everything is going. It's still balayage because I'm still painting the hair, but it's just a different method and the way that I personally like to do it. So I'm going to take out another section on the top of her hair, and this time I'm going to be doing light. So I'm going to grab my comb, my handy dandy comb, and I'm going to take bigger chunks of light because, and I do this sporadically, like I do different sizes on every different foil because this color again looks best when it's not uniform. So laying a foil underneath that, I'm going to grab my first color, which is the 7 volume in Blonde Me, to paint in that mid area. And then I'm going to grab my other one, which is a 20 volume, and softly paint at the roots. Now you can make some a little bit higher, a little bit lower. It all depends on what your client is going for. So I did some higher up and some lower towards the face. You guys will see what I do towards the face. I definitely do it a lot closer because I still want her to look like she has some great blonde in there, but I don't want it to be a ombre. So for me, a sombre is a softer version of a highlight and a softer version of an ombre. So it's kind of that in between. So again, taking some nice size chunks. Obviously this one is different than the side that I just did. Like I said, sporadic for me is a little bit better as long as you're doing larger chunks. And I dropped the foil on the ground. So I'm going to place my foil underneath that section again. I'm going to go in with my 7 volume and paint that mid so that we're not frying her hair off with 20 volume. Because we want to keep it nice and safe and healthy. And then I'm going to grab that 20 volume and hit right at her roots where her virgin hair was. So that's the reason why we go in with a 20 at the root and then a 7 a little bit lower. It just keeps her hair healthy and happy, and we're not going to have to worry about scary endings. So for Ashley's hair, I did probably 2 highlights or balayage light pieces to 1 darker piece. So I was going in and doing 2 highlights to 1 low light, I guess you could say. And so that is my process, and I did this all through the top, through the back and the sides, and then I'm going to switch to the side and the very front view so you guys can see what I did there to make it a little bit blonder and brighter. So for the top, I did a mohawk section. So I did the sides first, and then I left that top mohawk section because I feel like this makes the color look the softest when it falls. So she, no matter where she parts, is going to be able to wear this color and not worry about a dark spot or a light spot, even if she wears her hair up. So in the top mohawk section, I'm just going to slowly work my way from the back towards the front. And when I get to probably about 2 inches from her hairline, I'm going to stop doing the low light and just be doing highlights and making them a little bit closer together for some of those softer balayage pieces. And I'm going to be bringing it a little bit closer to the front. So like you guys can see right here, I'm really getting it super close to her root, and I'm doing it in soft wistful motions so that nothing is a straight line at her hairline. Where the color is it's going to be very soft and fall very soft. So I'm going to do this towards the front. And that very front piece, you guys can see right here, I have it almost touching basically her scalp because I want it to be very close. On the very sides, I left out about a ½ inch of hair, maybe a little bit less than that. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to be pulling these back away from her face. So I saved these for the very last because you guys know the color in the front processes so fast, and these hairs are so fragile there that you really want to make sure that you're not blasting it with color and doing these kind of for the last. So I'm pulling this away from the hair and I'm doing a very thin slice. And what I'm doing is, you guys can see how I'm applying this. I'm applying it very soft towards right where her scalp was, just like I did in that front piece of her hair. This is going to help so when she pulls her hair back into a ponytail or a half up or a braid or something, it's going to be soft and bright towards the front and not look like a chunky highlight. When you look at this at the end, it is so pretty and just a gorgeous way to do those side parts of the hair. And you can do this even if you have a highlighted client that wants to be bright and close to the root in the front. So I did it 2 on each side towards the front of her hair, going away from her face directly back. If you guys wanted to see this amazing freaking foil cutter that I have been using, this is by Fremar. They're incredible. So there's this roll of tin foil inside of this device that you can pull it out to any length, and it will cut your foil at any length. And then on the other side, it also is already folded for you. How freaking amazing is this? I freaking love it. Okay, so after she's done processing, I didn't do a video to show you guys how I toned the roots. The roots are totally going to be up to you, but I will show you guys the steps that I did. So first I rinsed and shampooed her hair, and then I towel dried it. And what I did is I went in the back, mixed up my Redken Shades EQ because right at her base, I wanted it to be a little bit softer, and it still had a tiny bit of warmth in it. So I mixed together 8N and 9B straight equal parts, and then I applied this to the root. So from the root out to about 1 inch from each of the highlighted pieces. I just went in and found the highlighted pieces with a brush and just painted them because I didn't need to apply it all over her roots because she didn't have light pieces all over, and that just wastes color. So I let this process for about 10 minutes, and then I went back and I mixed Redken Shades EQ 9N and 9G. So I wasn't initially going to do any G in her hair, but because her hair was already so ashy, I decided that I wanted to add a little bit of G to it so that it would be the perfect natural, bright but still sandy blonde. And then after I let this sit on for probably about 5 minutes, I went ahead and rinsed and towel dried her hair. I did the step 2 of the Continuum system. This is for 10 minutes, and this just helps to rebond the hair after coloring it. And then after I did that, I added a mask on top of that, and then shampooed or rinsed it out of her hair, and then went and blow dried it. Now you guys can see this before and after is such a transformation. It did take us 5.5 hours in the salon to do these processes, but in the end it is worth it because your client is walking away with absolutely gorgeous, stunning color that took us 1 day to do it without damaging the hair. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that you guys enjoyed this. If you guys want to see how we initially got her to her mermaid hair, be sure to check it out. It is linked down below.